The GCSEs came out today. Last week it was the turn of the people looking to get their A-levels up to speed. We were told last week that the basic principles were going to be that the grades were all going to be slightly marked down because last year they were a bit inflated because of COVID. Same goes for GCSEs today. Grading apparently is being called not fair on teens. Let's see what Stephen thinks. Stephen, very good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon, Mike. Thank you for your welcome to the Republic.
Not at all. Is it fair what's happened? I mean, it seems to me that it wasn't fair to make up grades for kids last year and the year before and to give them a sort of false sense of how well they'd done. But that's what they did anyway. So what have they done this time?
Absolutely. I think by inflating these the grades in the previous 2 years, we weren't doing students or teachers any favours whatsoever because we were artificially kind of building up their maybe view of themselves as well. So you could say, right, was it fair to all the people who sat their GCSEs the 10 years before or the 20 years before because they didn't benefit from that grade inflation? But what we're seeing now is a shift back to pre-pandemic levels, 2018, and a kind of a normalisation, I would say, of that grading process.
And so inevitably it had to happen. So have they just sort of bitten the bullet and decided this is the year we're going to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the right thing to do. You know, we're always crying out for politicians to make tough decisions, and they've done it. And I applaud them for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often we applaud the politicians for doing much right in the education sector because they're all over the place sometimes. I mean, I've had a son last week waiting for his A-levels. He did fine. He got to where he wanted to go. Similarly, I've got one today who did well as well, so he's done brilliantly. And you know, you feel for people who perhaps have not done as well as they wanted to do. But I always say to them, whatever it is, it's not the end of the world. You know, you can carry on and you can do whatever you want to do. And, you know, school will look at some point or other in your history as you look back through the telescope. You know, yes, it seemed like it was very important at the time, and I'm not diminishing it, but it's not the be-all and end-all of life.
Yeah, and the Secretary of State for Education said that last week, surprisingly. It was something I never really thought I'd hear an education secretary say. Nobody will remember your results in 10 years.
And she was castigated for it. And I agree with her, you know?
It's true, but it's kind of one of those unsaid things as well. But I think...
I'm all in favour of unsaid things.
No, you often say them. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know, but I like saying them because nobody else does. The point is that we should stop pussyfooting around. I think our children have enough difficulty trying to navigate the craziness of the modern world, you know, so we might as well tell them the truth, mightn't we?
Indeed. And I think underlying all this data as well, you've got this broader kind of picture emerging of technical qualifications as well. And I think one of the huge successes has been the number of children taking technical qualifications. And, you know, there are plumbers, are electricians, and are people who generally make the world tick.
Yes.
Are taking these at GCSEs, and they're going to hopefully maybe go on to their A-levels or go to college or take up apprenticeships. And I think that's a real positive story within all this as well. So
no, I'm really pleased to see that development because I think for a long time there's been too much emphasis on, you know, kids being pressurised to go to university when they're not really sure. And I'm hearing more stories now of what you might call, you know, better paid jobs as well, offering apprenticeships. Like, you know, we have them in the media now. I think law firms are offering them. You know, there is an opportunity. I'm hoping the civil service is offering them as well, where people can actually go and do a job and learn on the job while getting a qualification of some kind.
It's so important, and those employability skills that come along with that you're picking up all the way through school. And, you know, I'm pleased to see, again, more schools are having things like the Duke of Edinburgh Award and cadet forces, and all those things which enrich your education, and they're not reflected in the grades that they're getting today.
No, indeed. And you're an armed forces veteran, I understand, Stephen, and it's good to see that you've got yourself into education because we do a thing called Veterans Voice here on a Friday with you, Andre, and a lot of veterans come out of the forces not quite sure what to do, and I'm sure so many of them could be a great sort of advantage and a great sort of credit to the education system if they could get into it.
It's huge, and actually there's also a huge unseen workforce in education as well. You're talking things like caretakers, teaching assistants, office managers, all those people who have left the forces and they're adding value. They want to serve their community again and put something back. And one of the big things that I found actually when I left the military to go into teaching was this misconception that I was going to be marching children up and down the playground and shouting at them and you know, You know, they're expecting to see, you know, Troop in the colour reflected at playtime. And the reality of it is the armed forces is built on consent and built on collaboration and working together. And, you know, having, I suppose, the attitude that, you know, you're in it for something a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
That underpins a lot of veterans. And I would encourage anybody, you know, reach out to me, and I'm more than happily kind of mentor you to get.
Well, listen, we'll get you on with the Veterans Voice scenario as well, because I think rather like people say quite often, well, you know, MPs should really have a bit of experience outside of politics so that they've got real life stories to bring to the job. I think that same thing should apply to teachers. You know, not that I wish to cast aspersions on any of your fellow colleagues, but, you know, the ones who come straight out of teacher training college into teaching and they don't really do anything else, they've only really done teaching. And I think, you know, it would be nice if there were more people like yourself who had come out of somewhere else and have that benefit, the benefit of that experience to give the kids.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Mike. I've had some challenges in that kind of transition from the military into education. I mean, who knew that humour in the mess wouldn't go down well in the staff room of a school?
Yeah.
There have been lots of challenges, but this is the importance of kind of coaching and mentoring and helping people. Because you can say, well, actually, don't do that because, you know, that made me look like a great idiot. Or
well, I mean, I'm with apologies to Jeremy Clarkson, who always says, you know, I got, what does he say, he got 1 O-level or something and he's now owned his own pub. You know, I got 4 O-levels, which are what we now call GCSEs, and my careers advisor, whoever he was, said that if I didn't get 5, I'd be a dustman. To which I said, actually, that's not a bad job because you finish early, it's quite well paid, and you get bank holidays off, you know. There's always a silver lining.
Absolutely, and you know, I'm of the view I never look down on any job or
no,
role.
Of course not.
Part in society, you know, you're here to entertain and to actually tell us how it is, and but also to make sure we're informed without the bias of other channels.
Yeah,
and you know, everybody has their role to play, and we're a community, and we've got to work together, and it's so important. And I want to celebrate these young people who have done.
Listen, Stephen, I can't believe we haven't had you on before. I mean, you're clearly a member, outstandingly, of the Independent Republic. I mean, you clearly have our mentality about you. We'll have to talk some more, because I think there's more we can do.
Please, I'm more than happy, and I'd encourage all those young people now to go and get their discounts in Nando's and all the other restaurants that are giving them discounts as well today. You know, take advantage of it, enjoy today.
Absolutely right. Brilliant. Good to talk to you. Stephen James, award-winning teacher, Armed Forces veteran. What a guy. You know, if all teachers were like him, we'd already be on a road to success in this country. We'd already be making progress, because it's all about learning, but not just learning, you know, the 3 R's, not just learning, you know, something you didn't know, but actually learning everything. Everything that you can learn it. Surely that's where we want to be.